Hey good people, here I am in my shed, about to impart to you the wisdom of some 50 and so many years. Today I'm going to title my video, The Glorious Example of Mary Spender. Now this is not sarcastic. I actually do think what I am about to talk to you about is in fact glorious and a great example. So I'm not being facetious at all with my title. I could have called it the brave example as well, and may still do so. She probably doesn't need much of an introduction. Well known on the music scene on YouTube. A YouTuber turned recording artist who does videos. A very, very successful channel who does videos that sort of dabbles in the guitar world, also in the music world, also in sort of music genres and commentary about the music industry in general. And I've always liked her channel. Don't watch every single video, but it's one that I do look out for, and I do find her, in keeping with the last video I made, to be an authentic musician. I'll get my own opinion out of the way. I think she makes really good music. I like the way she plays guitar. It's a very sort of tasteful, dream poppy tone, for want of better adjectives. Just more signature to her sound than a lot of people get. And I just think just very tasteful. Tasteful is the word that comes to mind. I like the way she plays guitar, and I think she has a good voice. I like that sort of husky quality to her voice, and I think the songs that she writes and the way that she does covers of other songs is really well done. Recently she turned her channel into an experiment of sorts, with her, first of all, the releasing of a self-made, self-published CD, and then a subsequent tour that she did, I think maybe 12 towns around England, Scotland, I think, Britain, and sort of documented the whole process for her channel. And I would say that 90% of the people that check in to the channel are supportive, and probably do, hopefully help support her work in buying her music, which allows her to monetize and perhaps pay for some of the experimentation that she did and filmed. But then there is a component, because she's very honest, first of all, about music sales, about how hard it is to be an independent musician, how hard the road that she chose has been to self-produce her own album on her own sort of label, and then to put on her own tour, to do it independently, to do it without support or agency, if you like, which is a bold decision. Excuse me. And of course she's gonna get, and did attract, a lot of criticism, some rather harsh, I think. The choice to put out your own music on your own terms is not that unusual anymore. I think it's quite a normative thing to do in this day and age, and it can be art, music, books. People self-publish. Now there's a number of pluses to this. You maintain control of your project. You decide how it looks, how it's finished, the package it comes in, and you are then responsible for getting it out into the world and making sure that people hear about it. And that's the difficult part of self-publishing. And trust me, I know this from painful experience. I have myself produced some 20 odd albums over the years, in mostly with my own alt rock project, and some in my own name, more sort of classical, ambient type of works, and then a lot of collaborations as well with others, including a interesting folk, psych folk project that I had a number of years back, all of which has resulted in my own self-published works, the creation of my own label for the endeavor, and Bandcamp page to house all of those projects. And getting the word out and getting people to support your work is, one of the most difficult things about the whole process. So first of all, I have empathy for someone like Mary, for what she's doing. I think despite the criticism that she received, she's probably the most successful example of this, because she had a burgeoning YouTube channel to support the project, which most of us don't have. I started this channel long after my music enterprises. So if I put something out into the world, it'd be a simple case of announcing on social media, here's my work, check it out, which, most of us know is practically useless unless you're absolutely spamming the thing day and night, which I can't do. I have a hard time with self-promotion. So she developed a channel and a good following before, embarking on this, which is quite sensible. But of course, it's still difficult. It's still difficult, even with, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of viewers, to turn that into CD sales. So it's a brave venture. Of course, some of the comments are scathing on her videos, saying that, she's an amateur, she's not successful because she's not good enough. She doesn't know she's not good enough. It's a vanity project. If she had gone the traditional route and been signed by a label and distributed by a label, she'd be much more successful. Now, 20 years ago, this would be a solid argument, but I think it's moot today, because even some of the so-called pros in the music scene are self-publishing. The Cure, Nine Inch Nails, many other examples of big, well-known bands have decided to cut out the middleman, put out their own albums, mix, master, produce them themselves, do all the artwork, or enlist people to do it, but basically manage their own projects and put them out on their own labels, or just independently released into the world, and then taking the gamble of trying to push people to listen or buy their work. Of course, if you're a well-known artist, it's a lot easier. For most of us unknown artists or lesser known artists, it's very, very difficult. So, but to say it's a complete mistake and it's a vanity project and it's arrogant, I think misses the mark, because it's a choice now that's become more viable. Yes, there is a lot of rubbish in the world, because all of the art communities are oversaturated and people are putting out loads and loads of substandard work, because in the digital age, anyone can do it. I understand all that, but that doesn't mean that something that is self-published is necessarily substandard. A lot of times it can be, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. I know a lot of people that put out their own music or have published their own books. They're excellent standards, to an excellent standard, and worthy of a publisher or a label, but they just chose to go that route to retain control of their project. Now, that will invite scorn. I got it myself, that I am, a vanity project musician, a bedroom musician, an amateur. All those slurs came my way and still come my way. I really don't think there's much difference between a badly produced, traditionally produced album and a badly produced self-released album. There's good and bad music, and that is subjective in and of itself. We won't go into that. So the fact that she did decide to do and film the process, I think, was brave, but also reasonable, because it is not that out of the normative realms anymore to do so. If you go onto Bandcamp, SoundCloud, most of the music that you run into is going to be self-produced, self-released. We are now in the time where that is possible, and people are taking advantage of it. And there's a lot of labels, there's a lot of book publishers out there, small press publishers, that are barely viable. They might technically be a label or a publisher, but you're still paying to publish, so you might as well keep control of the venture and just do it yourself. And it's a reasonable argument. So some of the scorn that came that way, I thought was a bit unfair and a bit cruel. Plus, the whole charge that this is an amateur production, it's a vanity production, therefore it's bad, you're not good enough, you're not selling well enough because you're not good enough, I think is also a poor argument, because we know that the art scenes, music scenes and art scenes are not true meritocracies. We all know great artists and musicians and writers who have not been discovered, or who are barely discovered, or who are struggling, and we know examples of musicians, artists and writers that are doing well for themselves, and their work isn't really that great. So the public will buy not based on pure talent and ability and the merits of a production alone. There'll be many other factors as to why someone becomes a sellable commodity. So I think some of the criticism was a bit harsh, and I'm glad that she seems to rise above it and not let it get her down too much, because reading through the YouTube comments can be demoralizing, whether you're doing it for your own videos or for someone else's. People can be very harsh in an environment where you're basically anonymous. Anyway, the second leg of this adventure, if you like, is something that I haven't been brave enough to do myself yet, and that's to sort of devise my own tour, purely on my own volition, producing my own music, booking the venues, doing all of the diligence for such a venture, which she did, filmed the process, put out a number of videos, and also included her successes and failures. And the video she put out just before Christmas, while everyone else was putting out joyful Christmas videos, was a rather sad tale of the fact that she lost £12,000 in the venture. What was a successful tour emotionally, personally, reaching a milestone, was a fiscal disappointment. And that's something that each one of us has to dovetail. We have to put together and work through that kind of mismatch of experiences, don't we? Because whilst my books, for instance, or my CDs, I felt were great milestones in my life to achieve that piece of creativity, the the financial reward was nil or very little, and in pure marketing terms, they're all failures. All those ventures are failures, but in intellectual terms, or in terms of personal development, they're not. They are things that I achieved, finished, and I feel the same about this example that I'm putting before you now. Now, she doesn't need my help. She's a successful YouTuber, owns far more than I do, and probably can regain some of those losses through 3 or 4 videos, because she's that successful of a YouTube artist. I don't know her. We don't have any. We've never had any words between us. I just think that this is an interesting example of the honesty and authenticity we talked about in the previous video. Someone willing to go in front of the camera and bear themselves in front of the world. This is what I'm doing. I'm doing it myself. Yes, a load of know-it-all keyboard warriors will come on and criticize everything I do, tell me that I did everything wrong, from the production to the songwriting to my voice, to, you know, where I booked my venues, how I traveled, the fact that I refused to sleep in a van and needed a hotel room, which was a faction of the last video. And of course they flock on there, and everyone takes a shot. And it's easy to do, isn't it? Everybody's, it seems like everybody else is an expert when you're trying to be forthcoming about, you know, perhaps something that fell short or something that you didn't quite meet the mark on. But there's also a lot of people saying you can't put a price on creativity, art, completing a venture, putting your own soul felt music out into the world. Yeah, maybe you don't make any money, maybe you make a loss, but it's better to make your voice heard in this world than to not. And the fact that, you know, perhaps you made mistakes on the venues or not accounting for VAT tax and all that sort of stuff, and you lost money, that is in no way an evaluation of who you are as an artist. And I think, you know, she was able to come to that assessment during the videos that I watched anyway. Not everybody will agree with that, but I think it's something that has to be a consideration for all of us that are doing creative work, no matter what type of creative work you're doing or what artwork you're doing. The chances of you being successful, known, making money are less than 1%. And I think you have to know that going in, and you have to be willing to do it for the love of it. Yes, we all want to be heard. We want to be read. We want people to know what we're doing. We don't want to cry out into a wilderness and have our voices hit a wall. None of us want that. But the fact that you're articulating, that you're, you know, expatiating, that you're putting your part of your soul out into the universe, and even if it just is recorded by a smattering of people and a few enjoy it, and it isn't profitable and isn't rewarding financially, and you aren't able to quit your day job, I still think it's worth doing. I still think it's worth lauding people that do it. And I still think that even if it's an imperfect production and there's many faults, I think you have to say that for the most part, people who are brave enough to put their work out there, you know, that in and of itself should be considered an achievement that can't be eclipsed by ephemerals like, you know, the fact that I didn't break even or make bank on a particular project. So it is a glorious example of the way art works for 99%. Actually, I think she's way above the curve, because I think she's better than the majority of independent musicians, both as a guitarist, a singer, and a songwriter. And I think she was a lot more successful than she gave herself credit for in promoting and getting her work out there. I mean, more people know about this person than I'd say your average independent musician. And that's because of the work and the sacrifice that she has made in doing so. So it's a glorious example. I wanted to note it and make a video about it for no other reason than to support a fellow musician and for noting an achievement that may not meet with, you know, its deserved merit in a financial sense, but is worthy of pride and you know, notification in a world where everybody is so scared of the, you know, sort of remunerative process behind artwork. Anyway, I've done waffling. I've done it for 20 minutes. Yeah, maybe someday I'll take you through the process of recording an album, and that might be a future project down the line. It'll be a lot more rude and humble than her videos were, but it is interesting. A lot of us are doing it. and I'm always intrigued myself in how other people approach it. So maybe that's a possibility. But anyway, I'll see you on the next video.